there were a lot of times where different ministry leaders or different pastors wanted different things. And I would find myself getting caught in the middle. And the beautiful thing about this meeting is that I don't have one person saying like, oh yeah, we're going to do it this day in this way. And then another person saying, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it in this day in this way. I have them both in the room at the same time or on the call at the same time. And then I can say, well, you guys work that out and let me know what you decide, right? Because then that's what I need to know is what are the details of the event or who owns it. So ownership, who has decision rights, all those things, if they're not defined, can get worked out in those spaces.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 18 of the Missional Marketing Podcast. My name is Bart Blair. I'm the co-host of the show, and I want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. We do this podcast to help your church grow by leveraging digital marketing and effective communications. And the podcast episodes that we put out every week, we hope are very practical for you. In fact, I think you're going to find today's episode to be just that. Jason Hamrock and I recently sat down with Amanda Maglish, who is the Director of Communications at Vineyard Columbus. It's one of the largest churches in the country. It's the largest vineyard church in the world. Amanda has a lot going on in her team and with her church. And she shares with us some insights into how she keeps things organized, how she works with her leadership team to make sure that they're effective at doing what they're doing. She shares some of the pains that come with staffing well a communications department, a communications team, so that you have high quality, talented people on your team. And as much as anything else, Amanda just shares her heart about why she's motivated to do what she does as the communications director at Vineyard. She's a very humble leader, a very talented, very capable leader, and I think that you're going to really appreciate this conversation. If you haven't subscribed wherever you're listening to this podcast or watching, make sure that you do that so that you don't miss future episodes. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, make sure that you both subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified whenever we're releasing new episodes, which we aim to do every Friday. Again, we appreciate you tuning into this podcast. And without any further delay, here's Jason Hamrock, the CEO of Missional Marketing, and our interview with Amanda Maglish.
Well, Amanda, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're in Columbus, Ohio. Is it, it's November. Is it like really cold there right now?
It's very cold. Yes, it's very cold. It wasn't a couple weeks ago, but it is now. So bundling up.
Winter has arrived.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you shoveling snow already?
I personally am not. I don't think that I also don't think that the snow is sticking.
Okay.
So it's just kind of like a light dusting at this point.
Oh.
Everybody in Columbus was dreaming of a white Thanksgiving. That's pretty much what's happening here. We're recording this the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking time the week of Thanksgiving to hang out with Jason and me.
Yeah, I'm excited. So for our listeners, Amanda is Director of Communications for Vineyard Church in Columbus, Ohio. It's the largest vineyard church in the country. And she's in the world. She's the Director of Communications. So we're going to learn some good nuggets from Amanda today. But Amanda, will you take just a quick minute and share with our listeners kind of like your story? How did you get into this space? How you got into your current job? And just give us a little update.
Yeah. So my career actually started more in corporate America. I have a bachelor's degree in communications and an associate's degree in graphic design. Started working for a software and technology consulting firm, and then from there went to a greeting card company that was acquired by American Greetings. Oh. They merged us with another company called Papyrus. I don't know if you've heard those. I don't know if I'm allowed to say those on here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I've heard of the font Papyrus. I know that font.
Not quite the same. Maybe we talk after this is over. And so I worked there for about 5 years, and after that, took some time to kind of reevaluate my life and figure out what it is that I wanted to do. Felt really called out to the west side of Chicago, and I worked for a place called Lawndale Christian Health Center for 5 years, leading their communications team. At that time, they were seeing roughly 55,000 patients a year, and they had 5 clinic sites. So I built their communications team, and we had relaunched a new website, and there were several things we were able to do successfully there to help them grow. I was there about 5 years and then decided I needed a break from the nonprofit world for a minute. So I started working for a Fortune 500 company that I will not say the name of. It wasn't a great experience. I was there about 18 months. And I learned quite a bit there too. But at that time, there was some challenges with the health of a family member who lived in Columbus. So we wanted to come back, my family and I wanted to come back and be here with our family here in Columbus. So we knew that was our objective and our mission. Even though we love Chicago very much, we knew we needed to make the move to Columbus. And so I started looking for jobs there, and through what I can only describe at a very high level as a very strong sense of calling. And if you guys are familiar with the Vineyard movement and the Vineyard faith practices, I think that kind of helps explain it a little bit more, but felt a really strong sense of calling to this role. I was not even aware of Vineyard Columbus when I applied, but through the interview process, it was affirmed for me several times that this is where I needed to be. Now 5 years later, I've been here at Vineyard Columbus. It'll be 5 years in January. So.
Right on. Okay. So, what's really cool is you've got that experience of dealing with corporate, nonprofit, and church, even though church is nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
So you've had a well-rounded, basically portfolio of how to do communications. What's the most challenging thing in the church world versus the other two that you dealt with?
Oh, there's pros and cons to all of them. I think church world, I don't know. I think the pros far outweigh the cons for me. I think one of the biggest challenges that I have here, though, that I also had working nonprofit is recruiting great talent because I can't pay what they can make elsewhere. I'm a great boss. So if I ever have a job posted and somebody sees this and wants to apply, please do. But the reality is, if they have family or financial obligations, that working at a church for someone who is maybe a really great social media manager, really great, at doing the communications jobs, those are really specialized skill sets. And to get really great people into those roles can be challenging. Yeah. So
over the 5 years you've been as the director of communications at Vineyard, you certainly have had people come and go. Yeah. And I got to work with one of your guys who was a phenomenal guy. He just ended up leaving recently. Loved him dearly. But so what's your, because it's a pain point for you now. You gotta just keep finding good talent. Where do you go? Where do you turn? How do you recruit and retain? And do you outsource stuff, or is it more like we just got to keep finding until God delivers and brings that one person? Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. First of all, I'm pretty scrappy. So I'm able to kind of piece things together and make it work. But I believe strongly in prayer. And I have a funny story to tell you about praying for the right people to come along with one of our pastors on staff here, which if we have time, I'll bring that up later. But covering things in prayer. So we do use contractors. I have relationships built with different website developer and designer and graphic designers, copywriters, anyone that I may need for specific projects, who I'll give a call and say, hey, we've got this coming up. Is it something you might be interested in? And my hope is that if they have a good experience working with us, working for me, that they'll come back and do it again. And so I work really hard to cultivate those relationships. But that's you have to truly own your brand. You have to truly own the projects as the one leading that for your church or your organization. But you can outsource it a variety of ways if you need to in the short term. Always bringing somebody in-house, they're going to own it a little bit differently. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but we do post positions on Indeed. We also post them on our website. We'll boost posts if it's a specialized role that's harder to fill. Then we will do our own campaigns around that too, to make sure that we're getting that. And that's not just for comms roles, that's for any role in the church. If there's something really specific we're trying to do.
And Amanda, can you describe the makeup of your team? Who all is on your team? So you're the director of communications. Give us an idea of who your direct reports are, what kind of staff you're working with.
Yeah, so I have 5 direct reports. The gentleman that we were just talking about it briefly, was his name. Well, you don't even know his name, but anyway, he was our webmaster. He does have a name. He was a great guy. We just had his going away party last week. And like so many people showed up for this because he was so well loved, just really great with people and a really strong cultural and mission fit. So that was our webmaster. He designed and developed our website, kept it edited and up to date. He also worked really closely with Missional Marketing on our Google ads and a lot of those digital marketing initiatives. He actually found Missional Marketing for us because we had worked with a different company and I was not happy with them. And so then he brought you guys to my doorstep, and here we are.
Lot of love.
Yeah, so that's the webmaster role. I also have what we call a digital content creator. She does email and social media for us. I have a graphic designer, or he's a senior graphic designer, and a video producer, lead video editor. Lastly, I have what I call I call him Sam of all trades because his name is Sam, but he can do literally anything on the team. So he fills in where needed, and that's been a really great mix for us. Yeah.
Wow. So you're the largest vineyard church in the world.
Yeah.
That's a lot. You have a lot going on. Give us a glimpse of what that work or workload or demand is of you week in and week out. Like, how many projects do you guys have going on at any given time? Or
Yeah. Well, it's always like a moving target. So it depends on what else is going on within the life of the church. So an example is we were meeting this morning talking about any like collateral or assets we needed to shore up for a launch of a new campus. We have a new Spanish speaking campus that's launching in our Grandview neighborhood in Columbus in January. And so we were talking with him about, or the pastor for that, his name is Daniel Hernandez. Wonderful, wonderful. If you are Spanish speaking or know anyone who is in Columbus, that is going to be a great campus for you. We're doing a retrospective of our Alpha campaign that we had just finished up this fall. So looking at how we spent our money, what lessons we learned, what we're going to do moving forward. We always have our weekly roundup of stuff we're trying to get out, like our communications priorities for that week. So we have a series of planning meetings throughout the month where we talk about like what we're promoting each weekend during services. I make sure I'm in alignment with our weekend pastor and senior leaders and our campus pastor and all of the people that need to kind of be aware of what's happening and when, providing feedback from our key ministry leaders too, and putting that into how we're communicating things and when we are. I feel like I'm talking about this at such a high level that it's hard to kind of like dig into like what exactly happens each week, but it's like there's the stuff that's going to happen every week and every month. And a lot of it's high level planning. There's so much planning involved, making sure that we're trying to communicate everything in a way that makes sense and that everyone who needs to be on the same page is aware of what's happening. But then we also have the really cool one-off type fun projects, which is like this new campaign launch, or we just finished up Alpha and we're trying to figure out what worked, what didn't, because we know we want to do more really big campaign type things in the future. And we want to make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel each time.
well, I think the nugget for a takeaway there is in the church world, we can just get so inundated with air, like in the weeds that week and only think and look out like a week or two out.
Yeah.
I mean, that just happens to all of us. And I think the takeaway from your advantage, you have to do that as a leader, but you also have to see what's down the road and be able to keep that ball rolling, right? Not let it creep up on you, right? That's probably a big challenge and something you have to focus on.
Yeah. So I found that there are certain things that I can do to help me stay proactive and thinking ahead. So I do every month, I have a quarterly planning meeting for like communications priorities. And I'll sit there with all of the key ministry leaders or like who I call my key stakeholders. Yeah. We usually do it just on Teams. So anybody can dial in from wherever they're at. And then I go through the important dates that I know that are coming up for every month. And everyone can speak into like, oh, but did you get this? Did you get that? Let's make sure we're like they're chipping into. So I have a pretty healthy start for all of those
Yeah.
things before we even chat. But then we can like make sure we're making any kind of changes. One of the biggest challenges that I've had in my role as the comms director at Vineyard Columbus is that there were a lot of times where different ministry leaders or different pastors wanted different things. And I would find myself getting caught in the middle. And the beautiful thing about this meeting is that I don't have one person saying like, oh yeah, we're going to do it this day in this way. And then another person saying, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it in this day in this way. I have them both in the room at the same time or on the call at the same time. And then I can say, well, you guys work that out and let me know what you decide. Right. Because then that's what I need to know is what are the details of the event or who owns it. So ownership, who has decision rights, all those things, if they're not defined, can get worked out in those spaces. Yeah.
Hi, Bart Blair here. I'm the producer of Missional Marketing's Church Growth Interviews podcast. On behalf of our entire team, we really appreciate you tuning in. Let me ask you a question. If you're a church leader or a church communications professional, do you know how Google sees your church website? In other words, if people in your community were to Google churches near me or best church in my city or good church nearby, do you know where your church website would show up in those search results? At the top maybe, or somewhere in the middle, or somewhere on page 4? There's a common misunderstanding that if we simply build a great website and we launch it, that Google will somehow work its magic and people will find us online. But there's a bit more art and science to making sure that your church website shows up in the top of those search results. And that science is called local SEO, or local search engine optimization. And at Missional Marketing, local SEO is one of the core services that we provide for churches all across the United States and Canada. And we'd love to help you. If you'd like to learn more, click to our website at missionalmarketing.com and follow the link at the top of the page that says Church SEO. You can request a free local SEO report to see how your church is showing up in Google these days, and you can schedule an appointment to talk with Jason or with me or with one of our other digital strategists to help you decide whether or not a local SEO boost is right for your church. Hey, again, we appreciate you tuning into our podcast, and we look forward to the opportunity to serving you in your church and reaching more people for Jesus. Now, back to the show. So you mentioned that you use Teams for your meetings. What other tools, digitally or otherwise, are you using to keep your team organized, to manage your projects or keep everybody on the same page?
Yeah, so we started using actually an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc originally, but we've tried almost every project management software that's out there. And I even had a project manager position on my team at one point. But we've since changed the structure of the team. I don't have that anymore. But we've even tried Monday, and now we're finding ourselves in Teams itself. There's a task management tab on our private teams. I have a private comms team that just our team is on, and I can assign projects and tasks to people, and you can sort it. So it works a lot like Monday. It's almost like a Kanban board, except instead of going this way when it's completed, you just check it off when it's completed. There's like little tasks inside. And we found that works well. So I use that in combination with a weekly project status update for that team. So we will meet in person once a week and just do a rundown of all the projects really quickly. And I found that that's a really helpful way to make sure we don't lose sight of anything, because any given day or week, we're touching maybe 10 different initiatives or projects, and everyone on the team is doing something different on them. And so we need to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
I was a former communication director. So I'd like to know first is, what is the most favorite part of your job? And then the second question is, what would you say to somebody who is thinking about getting into church communications and they aspire to be a director someday?
Yeah. Okay. A couple things to this. So my favorite part of my job is that I feel like I have purpose and meaning to it. So it's really easy for me to be excited about what I do for work, because I know that both internally and like inside our church, we're letting people know all the things that are going on, getting them connected to resources they might need, especially in such a large church. but also externally, especially when we're able to do targeted campaigns online, we're helping people have a chance to experience God in a positive way. And be able to have find Christian community, find people who care about them, genuinely care about them. And I feel like that's pretty great. It's a life-changing thing. It has been for me. And that's by far my favorite part of my job.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Now, somebody who wants to get into, aspire to be a director of communications, what kind of advice would you give them?
I think I would want to know a little bit more about why. So I feel like in church work, it can be pretty messy. I think you have the capacity for really beautiful moments with people, but there's also you see a lot of not great moments of people too. And the church is, a hospital for the sick. This is also maintenance and help for people who are healthy, but you see some really interesting behaviors. And so I would think the bigger question is, why would you be interested in that? What is it? There's really no glory here, right? It's not like you're going to get paid a lot. It's not like I'm not up on stage. Nobody knows who I am or what I do unless you're in my small group, or unless you're, and even then I don't know that all of them know what I do. So it's I don't know. I think it would just try to figure out why, what's the motivation, and see if it's in alignment with is this really something that you want to spend your time doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you said that, it's like, I remember our IT director going, I never want to be known, because if somebody's calling him, it isn't good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh,
Same
yeah,
thing
yeah.
with communications. If somebody's calling me, it's like, oh no, we had a massive typo.
It's something. Yeah.
Yeah. And the bus would roll over you. Yeah.
So, well, I mean, yeah. It I think if just knowing why people are interested in that role would help me understand how to kind of guide them, or any kind of questions to ask, following up on that, and what makes sense. Maybe I bet there's a book they can read that would give them a fair warning about. I don't know what that book was. Nobody gave it to me, but
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
It is interesting because the landscape is changing so much, right? Since the pandemic and everything, just the nature of your job, there's a lot of stress to find good, talented people and actually retain them. But just from the standpoint of listening to the leadership team and what they want, and the direction you're going, and all things digital, it's a different landscape, isn't it?
It is. When I first started, we were mostly analog. A lot of things were printed, and now we're mostly digital. Almost nothing's printed. So just navigating that shift and change, my team's built out an app. We didn't have that before. We helped get everything put online for services. We didn't have that before. There's been a lot, a huge shift and change, but I feel like I thrive in that kind of environment, being able to keep building new processes, new systems, being able to think through strategies for what's going to work and what's not, is where I thrive and what I'm really good at.
Yeah.
Who do you look to learn from? You said you it sounds like you embrace change. That's not a hard thing for you. Where do you look? What do you read? What podcasts you listen to? Do you have other people that you sort of network with that help you sharpen your own saw?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for that question. I'm currently actually obsessed with Patrick Lencioni. I've been obsessed with him, and I've been just kind of plowing through his books. So I've probably gone through 5 of his books in the past couple of weeks. But it's usually finding something that I'm really interested in and just kind of digging into it and digesting it. But I found I really enjoy anything by Seth Godin in general, or anyone who's high level marketing, thinking through those things. I really enjoy and will spend a lot of time thinking through. Yeah. But
yeah, those are both gurus, right? Seth Godin
totally.
and Patrick Lencioni. So Patrick Lencioni really focusing on leadership, team building, how to have meetings, you name it, very practical.
Yes.
And then Seth Godin, really just all things marketing and creativity, right? Those are really favorite Seth Godin book. Do you have one?
I think Purple Cow. Well, let me.
Jason, do you have one? Do you have a favorite Seth Godin book?
Yeah.
Most marketing people say it's Purple Cow. I like Tribes. Tribes is one that I really liked a lot.
I like that one too.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I wish there was like better networking for like comms directors in general, like of churches. But I think it's such a niche thing that I really appreciate the podcast you guys are doing and putting out there. Because there's not a whole lot that I found that's super high quality, like looking through what other people are doing and trying to learn.
Well, by making that statement, you may have just invited yourself to be contacted by other communications directors who want to network with you.
I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. And
if they want to do that, how can they do that? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my email address is on our website. You can definitely contact me through our website, vineyardcolumbus.org. If you go to the staff page, I'm listed there. You can select it from the drop down and send me a message that way. I think that's probably like the best way to do that.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for this question. I would have had a QR code ready. I would have had everything ready.
QR code. You have a LinkedIn profile. Are you active on LinkedIn?
I am not particularly active on LinkedIn, but you can share it.
Jason, you have any final questions or any parting shots?
No, thank you for just taking a minute and kind of pulling back the layer a little bit to let us know what Amanda deals with on a day in and day out basis when it comes to running the communications team at Vineyard. No doubt this is a busy church. They've got a ton going on. A lot of ministry happens at Vineyard Columbus. So make sure you go check out their website and learn and reach out to Amanda if you have any questions. She's always been gracious in having meetings, and we talk all the time, and it's been fun for me to get to know her staff, and she's looking to replace a position. So we'll see what happens there. But no, I'm just really grateful for your ministry and what you do to help communications get better. And you're setting examples. So thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Amanda, before I call this one done, I'm going to give you a chance to tell me, was there any question that you wish we'd asked that we didn't actually ask that you were really prepared to answer?
The previous company that we had worked at, I was trying to share my vision for inbound marketing for the church. And I wasn't aware of very many churches that were doing inbound marketing really well. And they were, trying to be helpful and trying to make it work. It just wasn't clicking the way that we wanted to. We're spending a lot of money to do it. And so it was really refreshing about working with Missional Marketing is that you guys got it like right away. And I felt like we were speaking the same language. And when I would say things, you're like, oh no, I'm tracking with that. I got it. And it made so much more sense. And so it just has always felt like a good fit working with you guys and having that support. And that was it.
I will say this, you're a very humble leader. The seat that you sit in and the role that you play in your church is really quite substantial. And you're very gracious in giving us your time here right before the holidays, because we know there might just be a little bit going on as we come through the Thanksgiving week this week and head into December and Christmas. So thanks a ton for making the time for us today.
Absolutely. I really love working with you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you more.